Hello and welcome to my podcast about drinking coffee. Today we're going to talk about different coffees I like to drink and where I get them from. Sometimes I like to stop and pick up coffees that people have left sitting around just to see what other people are drinking. I don't mind the extra flavor and extra taste of somebody else's drinks, which is alright with me, but sometimes I just prefer my own personal coffees. Now for those of you who like to drink your own coffees at home in your own places, that's great. Let's talk about some of your own personal home coffees. First off, you've got your fun little Keurig K-Cup coffees, and then you've got other homemade coffees with little percolators, and then you've got drip coffees with a little distillery dripper thing, and then some people just put coffee inside of a little baggie and put it into a boiling water. Either way, coffee is delicious. I do like to drink my coffee with creamer. Some coffees are so good you don't need creamer. Some coffees...
Excuse me, you did not introduce me, your co-host.
I was all hopped up on coffee.
I also have things to say about coffee.
Well, you just got to get a word in edgewise.
Okay, so you should never drink a coffee that costs less than $10.
Sometimes I drink free coffee.
Well, you are just not a true coffee aficionado. You are a subspecies of human because your coffee is not expensive enough.
Well, that's terrible.
Did you?
That was a fun one. I like that one a lot.
I had more to go on, man. We broke character.
Yeah, we did. I was having fun.
Did you know that coffee is the new status symbol? If you don't have the right logo on your coffee brand, then you are not in the elite upper echelon of society
I like how your character's
anymore.
developing. Like, you've got these facial expressions going, and your shoulders are arching. Like, he's getting into it over here.
But I will tell you how to cheat the system.
The hand comes up.
You go to the fancy, expensive coffee place once. You buy that expensive coffee, but then you use your home coffee and put it in the expensive cup. So every day when you walk in the office, you can maintain your status as someone that can afford this level of caffeinated beverage.
So first, I like how you come at me with the, you have to spend the money on it, otherwise you're subhuman. And then you're like, here's how you do it without spending money on it. Excellent. That's pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but what are we doing here?
The evil safety
The
dudes.
evil safety dudes!
Oh, my wife, she can't handle when I go full Marvin anymore.
Where
Oh,
was the
okay.
kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to
I
another
hate that,
episode of the Evil Safety Dudes. I am joined in the IBC podcast fort by Mr. AJ Henscom, and he is an evil safety dude.
I am.
Yes.
I'm horrific. I'm also joined in the IBC podcast fort with Mr. Aaron Iacino. What should we do for you today?
I'm an evil safety
occupational
dude
safety
as
and
well.
health nurse.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that one.
I mean,
Yeah.
people get taken back that I introduce myself as an evil safety guy
Yeah.
because they know me personally that I'm a pastor,
Right.
and they go,
Evil.
wait, you're not
Excuse
supposed to like own that. But for those you don't know, we're not really evil.
I mean,
We don't plot
No.
how to kill people,
no.
and stuff like that and break laws. It's the perception of safety people.
Yeah.
They perceive that we're evil because we're inhibiting them from doing the work in the way they want to.
The way I've always seen it is I'm going to walk into a place and tell the professional who knows more than I do about what they're doing that they're doing stuff wrong. And that right there that's the evil part of it.
Yeah,
You know,
and
hello, tradesman. You've been doing this for 30 years, and you're the best at it. You're doing it wrong.
yeah, and I could go along with that, like in their perception.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're the best welder,
Right.
but they're not the best safety professional.
Right.
So we do have something to offer them.
It's funny you picked on welders. I just had to do that with a welder.
Well, they're the ones who love to be told.
And he no PPE except for he had this massive duct tape and electrical taped mitt on his left hand. And what he was doing while we were
Okay.
walking through is he was setting up where he needed to strike his arc, and then he
Right.
would just put his hand over it, and then weld and
Oh,
weld and weld and
nice.
weld and weld and weld, and then he would
Nice.
take his hand off.
That's totally OSHA approved,
and
right?
the glove was like almost on fire. Like it had all these
Wow.
little crystals and sparklies, and you could see
Wow.
the flame and stuff going on it. And then he just looked some more, and then he just put his hand back over and just keep going.
Man.
Yeah. And we were like, hey, Mr. Welder
But
guy.
you're a despicable human
Yeah.
for pointing it
He
out
was
that
so
that's not
mad.
the best way to do that.
Oh, he was just unhappy.
Yeah.
What was cool is I had the owner like of the place with me while
Right.
we're doing it, and he's like, "Oh man, that's cool. Like, why aren't you wearing that hood right behind you?" And he's like, "Well, I hate how I have to flip it down and flip it back up. Oh,
Right.
it drives me nuts." He's like, "Why don't we buy you an expensive auto tint one?"
Right.
He's like, "Oh, I hate those things. Hey, you'll never take your
You
off
can't
sweaty
win,
inside."
man. You can't win.
And he's like, "I like this one." He's like, "Oh, if you like that one so much, use it."
yeah.
Yeah, it was just an
What were you
insane-
doing there?
I was just walk through.
Okay.
It was a
What is your craziest walkthrough experience? Like the craziest safety violation in a walkthrough? Like you're doing one, you got that owner there or a maintenance guy or somebody, and you point out like an insanely dangerous thing that like you don't even expect to find yourself. You
I
expect to
know.
find a bad cord,
Right.
you know, a grinder with no guard, a fire extinguisher not inspected.
Well,
And I know I
guess
put you on the spot. You know?
the most ridiculous one that did ever happen. I was at a place. Do you remember the boiler installation?
Yeah, that was cool.
It was really cool, and for the most part, we were just kind of. I mean, it's not like we were like hardcore inspecting, but we were there.
No,
to
we
make
were just
sure
there.
Stuff, yeah.
We were hired just to be present.
During one of the times while I was there, an extension cord got caught underneath a scissor lift that was opening, and they
Okay.
weren't supposed to be wrapping extension cords around those lifts and taking stuff up and down. They actually weren't supposed. They were supposed to be plugging it into the lift.
Right?
And actually, as I got there, what they were doing it, and I was pointing out to the guy, and he literally just blew me off and went up. It got caught and actually ground out to the scissor lift and popped the breaker.
Crazy.
It electrified his lift.
Wow.
It did de-energize everything, but you know, if the breaker had failed, I mean, he would have just been sitting there in an energized lift.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I don't know, it was just nuts that it happened right in front of me. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
don't do that. And cord tore, lift made a crazy noise, and then we just heard bang.
Was the lift okay?
It worked afterwards. So
Notice
yeah.
I'm more concerned with the lift than the people. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
No, he was all right. The guy was fine. He was really mad though.
Yeah. Well, he's mad. You're right.
Yeah, I think so.
probably
How
the
about you? Did
craziest
you have, like,
thing-
a crazy, like you were on a site.
They're all fire related.
Dude, we've had some interesting
I was-
fire stories.
Hired to do an OSHA 10. So
is this the one I was there for?
I don't know. So I'm set up, and then I had to use the restroom before I start teach.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
the
go,
one I was there for.
and I go to the bathroom, and the trash can's on fire.
Yeah,
And
I was there for that.
So I put it out, and I went back and said, "You had a fire in your bathroom."
Yeah.
You know, so that was weird. But the other one was fire
So
related
weird.
too. I was with the owner. This was a fatality deal.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was doing a general walkthrough after the fatality. You know, OSHA's involved,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden they want to be safe. You know, because they realize they're not,
Right.
and that's just sad. You know, that's how most people get safe, reactively after a major death or, you know, well, all deaths are major incident or death. But anyway, so we're walking through, and he's like, "Tell me anything you see that's unsafe for an OSHA violation." And I look at this welding table, and a box is on fire, and I go, "That's not good."
That's bad.
You know, I'm not the best safety guy in the world, but I think something on fire inside
Yeah.
is probably bad. And he kind of flipped out, started chewing people out. You know,
Man, we really we love telling stories.
yeah.
Let's rewind. Rewind.
Yeah.
It's been another week. Haven't seen you for a little bit. I'm a pass on that one. So what's new with you?
So what's new with me is that I am alive.
Excellent.
No,
Perfect.
I've been doing intermittent fasting.
Yeah. You
And
feel like it's paying off?
I don't know, and I don't like it.
Okay. So
This is my 4th day of doing
Okay.
it this week. Yeah, I've been doing it for about a month,
right.
and my energy level just dropped.
Okay. I mean,
I'm
yeah.
not decreasing calories though.
So
I'm just consuming them, you know, in a certain period,
right.
and then doing a fast. And I don't like it. I don't have energy to do like my workouts.
Well, yeah, your blood sugar levels are depleted, and you're not restoring that blood sugar.
Well, I'm telling my body just like, hey, doofus, burn all that fat, you loser.
But it's not gonna do that when you need it. It's gonna do it slowly over time.
Yeah.
And it's
And
not gonna
so
restore your blood sugar,
well, there's sugar stored up in that fat. There's even a trace amount of protein in there.
but it's not enough to actually work out, exercise, maintain.
No,
healthy
not
blood
the level of stuff I'm doing,
Yeah.
sparring and then
Right,
trying to run 21 minutes and hit weights and
Nah, and a lot
you
of
know.
the I watch a bunch of guys who they'll sit there and go through the science of it and try to debunk stuff. And they're like, should you eat 7 tiny meals a day, or should you eat 1 huge meal a day and intermittent fast the other 23 hours of the day?
Well, that's a little excessive.
Yeah. So I've been going through all of them, and there's a couple guys that they do all of them. They're like, you know what, for this next 6 weeks, I'm going to do nothing but intermittent fast. And then I'm going to do the extreme intermittent fast. And then I'm going to do there's actually ones where you every other day fast.
Okay.
It's like you eat Monday. You don't eat Tuesday. You eat
That's
Wednesday.
crazy.
Yeah. And then there's people that are like, okay, well, instead of that, all I'm going to do is eat tiny meals. I'm going to eat 10 tiny meals a day. And
right.
like they'll bust up their day. And so far, the biggest consensus over all these years of research is none of it matters. You can eat here. You can eat there. The most important parts is getting your blood sugar up before your workouts. So small, healthy snacks about an hour prior to a workout.
Right.
Super good for you. And then making sure that you don't, like if you're trying to lose weight or cut, you maintain a calorie deficit. If you're trying to gain weight, bulk, you get into a little bit of a calorie surplus. But when you get those calories, surprisingly not that important.
So I wasn't really intermittent fasting for weight loss, but more of the other benefits of it. There's this thing called, like, I'm probably saying it wrong, but autophage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where it's like cellular regeneration.
Right.
So, and it only happens when, like, your tank's empty.
Right. You're trying to get that body. Well, and that's one of the only ways that's possible is by depleting blood sugar levels and then having demand.
And so,
but you are going to feel terrible.
It just, it recycles all the old cells that aren't running good, takes the good
right.
parts, reuses them, builds new ones that are running great, gets rid of the old ones. And
so what's interesting, though, is you're only at 4 days of intermittent fasting. You might actually start to develop a way to get used to it. Your body might actually start to retard your metabolism in your off time.
Well, if you starve yourself, it will.
Yeah, and then you start to hold on to extra blood sugar. Your muscles can actually change the way they function. So there's some neat stuff that comes
on one hand, it's cool because it's like you kind of got like an okay to pig out in a minute, because you like got this window to eat.
Right.
So you're like going to eat.
I got to eat my 4,000 calories right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to do 2,000. Sometimes it ends up being 2,200 or 2,300. But
okay, I got you.
So, yeah, it's like normally I only eat one of these for breakfast. But today, I'm fasting. I'm going to eat 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like party. And then it's like I ate lunch. And I'm like, I got an hour left to eat. I just ate lunch. I'm going to eat some more.
Yeah.
What else can I eat?
What about second lunch? I don't think you heard of second lunch, Pimp.
So, I don't know, man. Jury's still out on it. I'm not going to diss it. I'm not going to prove it. I'm just doing it and just not having super stellar report.
The big reason it works for most people is they'll usually stick with lunch and dinner, and then they just eliminated breakfast.
That's what everybody does.
Yep.
But I'm weird. I do everything kind of opposite. So, for me, I'm actually skipping dinner.
Right? You're going breakfast.
Because that works with my life. Because after I leave this job, I go do another job.
Right.
I go teach people martial arts all night, or I go preach at church all night. So I'm rushing from this job to the next one, and it's really easy. It's actually hard to get a dinner in.
Oh, so yeah.
I got a first class starting at 5:30.
Yeah.
Or I got a service, got to be at church at 6. So it's easier just to not do that. And I'm not getting home till sometimes 9:30. So then it's real easy just to go to bed.
There you go.
And so that works for me, but I don't know. So anyway, what's new with you?
I mean, not a ton, not too much. Summer's, it's hot, it's kicking off. So just finished laying a bunch of landscaping out my front yard. It's looking really good in front of my house. Got my yard put together. Nah, just been just trucking along, man.
So
really
it's summertime. So you bodybuilders got your beach bod mode.
Yeah,
right.
Mostly.
So you already done a cut, or are you back in a bulk?
No, so I'm still on my calorie deficit, and it's been, for me, it's always a weird, interesting line to walk. I've got some personal stuff that makes it very, very difficult for me to stay too low on my calories, and so I can only undercut by a little bit, but I've been hanging in there.
Right,
it's been looking good.
So when do bodybuilders start bulking? When they no longer are going to wear Ricky Martin shirts?
Yeah.
When they got to start putting coats back on?
Oh no, so for most people, when they go into their bulk, they'll do it in like September. They'll bulk like 6 months, and that works. You can go to March and then switch back over. But I usually don't start until like I hit the big holiday months.
Okay.
So I'll wait until like October.
Okay.
And there's candy and a bunch of snacks out, and then you're right into it with November, December, and then January is just a wonderful like the feel good comfort food month. So I'll usually bulk over that. Call it good.
So there might be a couple people out there upset because we're 15 minutes in this. We haven't talked about safety yet. So.
Safety.
What? I forgot what we. Oh yeah. We should tell people what we're doing today.
We should.
Today.
Have we even
Now
mentioned the
you
name
already
of this
know
real
though
podcast?
because this has been edited and and you had the title on it, so you already know.
They knew going into it.
But this is the first time we're introducing the topic. Today's topic is on health and safety plan development.
I thought it was on coffee.
So,
Health and safety plan development.
pet peeve time,
All right.
and I could
It's
be
been a minute since we did a pet peeve
I
episode.
could be wrong.
We
As
were so
always.
peeved out last time. We did 2 episodes.
I'm a noob. I've only been doing employee training for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've only been developing policies for about 2 decades. But people I work with are a lot older than me. Like my peers in the safety world,
Yeah. They've been doing it for a
they're
long time.
50s, 60s.
And they're the people that tell us that they were writing policies before OSHA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I could be wrong on this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But in my experience, a policy is a policy.
No kidding.
It's not a manual. Everybody calls, not everybody, but most people refer to their policies, their health and safety
Yeah.
plan, their health and safety policy, their HASP,
Yep.
as a manual.
It happens all the
And
time.
that bothers me.
It drives me nuts.
Okay.
We have a safety manual. I'm like, awesome. Let me see it. And it's all their policies they
Yeah.
put together.
Or
I'm like,
you
this isn't
you
a
ask
manual.
for the manual because I'm assessing. So for our terminology today, manual is going to mean handbook.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Synonyms.
Yeah.
We're going to go with handbook and manual.
Yeah.
And then we're going to use policy or plan or maybe program.
Yep.
This is all P's. Policy, plan,
yeah.
program. We're going to use that for the same thing,
Right.
meaning policy.
Right. So
your,
if it's
your
not
company's
a P,
specific rule set.
it's a manual.
Yeah.
If it's a P,
So
it's a policy.
in my world, you have a policy. Let's just pick on one. A fall protection policy.
All right.
So here's our company's policy on fall protection.
Right.
Who needs to be trained, how they're going to be trained, what equipment they're going to wear, when they're going to be retrained,
Right.
and then like all the OSHA rules on
All
it
the
because we got to
regs.
adopt the
Yep.
regs on it. Unless we're going to tweak them and increase them,
Right.
then that'll be
We tie
different.
off at 3 feet.
But that is our rules, and that policy could be 9 pages long.
'Kay.
By the time you get through all of that,
Right.
but you don't give that to a new hire.
No, they won't. It's
You
too
give them the
much.
cliff notes,
Yeah.
which I refer to as the manual or the handbook.
Yeah. That's
It's
what
the
we do.
cliff notes. So imagine if you had 52 policies. Ladder,
Imagine.
hand tool, power tool, eye and face protection, emergency action,
Right.
bloodborne pathogen, blah blah blah. You get up to 52.
Yeah.
Right?
It's gonna be a list.
How many pieces of paper do you think that is?
Well, the one that I just
If
made,
you printed it.
like recently, last one I just did of like
Right.
over 50 was about 800 pages.
Yeah, you don't give that to people.
No, they wouldn't. They would.
That's like
literally
how you
never
destroy
go
the
through it.
rainforest, destroy your budget,
Right.
ruin your printer. For what? They're going to throw it in the trash.
Yeah. If it's 800 pages long, they're not gonna.
So you
review
do
it.
not give employees your full policies, but what
Right.
what you should do is you should have a super streamlined version of that need to know the employee stuff in there.
Yep.
The
all
rules.
those little rules that you're gonna tell them.
So I've seen them go from like 800 or 600 pages down to 40.
Yeah. I think the one I typically give out is 31.
Okay.
32.
So you got and they got to line up. Obviously, your manual should line up with the
Same
policy.
rules.
Okay.
Right. We tie off at 4 feet. We do this. for
It
fall
should say
protection.
that in your handbook
Right.
or your manual,
Exactly. And it's
and
just
it should
those-
also say that in the policy.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. And so it gives them those little things. It doesn't have to go into huge detail. You have to be trained to put on a harness. You
I feel
have
like
to,
an OSHA reg today. I started off with definitions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I'm an OSHA reg.
All right.
So today we're talking about health and safety plan
Yeah.
or health and safety policy or health and safety program development.
That he said development, by the way, everybody.
So, AJ,
User.
as a person who has written these,
Yeah. Oh, no,
audited
yeah.
these, updated these, can you tell me some tricks you've learned on how to build these?
Absolutely. And we'll just kind of, I guess if we're just going to go over some tricks on how to build them, let's just go over just building them because they're not too terrible bad. But kind of like what Aaron was saying is you want to start with the absolute need to knows. And so to get that, you usually just go to your OSHA regs. So you go, which industry do we work in? Do we work in general industry? Do we work in construction? Do we work in both? And then you got to find out your applicable rules. So you find your applicable OSHA regs. You're going to want to go ahead and start pulling those regs and then get the actual relevant pertinent information kind of copied, put into a place where you have access to them, can read them. Maybe you want to condense them out of that crazy OSHA reg format into like paragraph readable format. But that'll get you like the basics. That'll get you the instructions. It'll have definitions. It'll have, the rules, the training requirements. Like, believe it or not, the OSHA regs are going to have most of the things to build your policy, or a good place to start anyways.
All right, so to recap, find out what you do as a company.
Yeah.
Regulations wise, like crack open, say I'm general industry, say I make peanut butter. Okay. So I go to the 1910 Code of Federal Regulations, 1910. Doesn't mean it was written in 1910. I had a guy do that to me the other day. These are old. That's from 1910. No, that's just the code number.
Gee Willikers. Yes, it is.
And then go to the table of contents and oh, look, right there. It says walking working surfaces. We have those.
We got them.
I should
probably have a policy on them.
Yeah. So, figure out what you do and what you need a policy on. All right.
Right.
So, can I just cut and copy the OSHA regulations onto a Word document and call that my policy?
It's close, but you can't quite do that.
Why not? I know it's accurate. It's the exact rules.
Well, the wording is a little goofy. The wording's going to say, you shall.
Okay, OSHA talking to the employer. That's how the regs are written.
How they read. Yeah, so if
you better do this.
Yeah, if I put that as my policy, and we at Aaron's Peanut Butter Emporium.
Chunky.
Yeah, it says that's how it starts, and it's Chunky Peanut Butter Emporium, right? And then you get to rule number 1: you shall do this. Well, you're not telling yourself.
Yeah. So you would change some of the verbiage to
like
we
shall.
Will,
we shall, we will. Or like when you go to the training, it says you shall train every employee. You're going to say we are going to train our employees. And so you just, it's not a great way to do it. But if that was all you were absolutely going to do to create a policy was grab the relevant and pertinent OSHA regulations and go through and change the wording, you wouldn't have a terrible policy. It wouldn't
it would be compliant.
It would be OSHA.
It may not be industry best practices.
Right.
It may not be what your competitors are doing.
Right.
But it's base model.
It's something.
You got to reword
it's not
it.
Great.
And then you probably could still take out some stuff in there that doesn't apply.
Right. Yeah.
And fish it around and then format it to look like all your other ones. So it is doable.
It is. It's doable.
And sometimes you have to do something like that because new regulations happen and there's not something on Google that you could just go steal yet because it's a brand new regulation.
Right.
You got to wait a few months for somebody to write one and sell you one or post it that you could, download.
We should make a note, too, to discuss the dangers of grabbing a Google
Well,
doc.
that's what we're doing right now. So
Well,
let's just
talk
get
about a
into
Google
it,
doc.
man.
So after...
Why can't I just Google my policies? If I Google fall protection policy for the general industry, I'm going to get 10,000 hits.
There's going to be so many.
And why can't I just go to the first one that's downloadable, that's in a manipulatable format like Word?
Right.
And then why can't, if it said Joe Schmo's
Aaron's Peanut Butter
motorcycle manufacturer, why can't I go into Word and go find and replace and put Joe Schmo's motorcycle manufacturer and then put Aaron Icino's Chunky Peanut Butter Emporium?
Well, nothing's really stopping you. You could. Would it work? Well, that's the crazy part is there's a chance it could, but it's more than likely not going to.
Okay.
Like there's a crazy chance it could. The guy could actually have created a policy or developed a policy that specifically jives with and matches everything you do. Like it would be a weird coincidence.
Yeah, for a motorcycle manufacturer's fall protection rules policy to be in line with what I need as a peanut butter manufacturer.
Right. So you're
Chunky.
both general industry. Chunky. That's important.
Yeah.
But you're both general industry. There's a crazy chance. But for the most part, you would need to go through that whole policy and see what they changed.
How many times have you seen somebody say, "Oh, I already got a policy. My friend has a company."
A couple times.
And he gave me his.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times. I've seen the random Google Doc a couple times.
Yeah. So more on the hazards. So what is the problem with that?
Well, I mean, the problem is they're gonna, if they did theirs right, it's gonna have specific information about the fall protection at their company that won't apply to you.
Okay,
So you're
so
gonna
it
have
may
these
not be
rules, yeah.
applicable.
And then who knows? Maybe they're actually a really safe company, and they start going off the deep end.
They go way over OSHA.
Maybe they've got crazy documentation requirements and meetings and policy
They're
changes.
saying a
and-
bunch of stuff you don't
Yeah.
have to do.
Right? We meet every Thursday to discuss fall protection, and we take minutes and notes on our fall protection discussions.
Why is that a problem?
Well, now you've just said that you create a ton of documentation about safety in your policy that you do, so OSHA could say, okay, let me see that documentation from your Thursday meetings.
And
you'd
you
be
go,
like,
what? I didn't actually read this.
yeah,
I just switched the names out.
Exactly. So now all the stuff that you put in your official company policy, well, it's legal now.
So do you think that OSHA could cite you on that?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Isn't that crazy? It doesn't
Yeah.
even have to be their rule, but if it's your rule and you're not following it, they'll
Yeah.
cite you on not
Cite
following
you
your
for breaking
own rule. That's crazy.
So you got to be careful. If you just download some policy, make sure you find out what's in there, and that's why I always recommend to people, like,
Read it.
sometimes the best way to do it is to start from scratch.
Yeah. The other issue is it's just not accurate.
Right.
You
What if
know,
they
like
made
you were
theirs in
talking about,
92?
they're overdoing it.
Yeah.
They can underdo it.
Yeah.
You know, regulations change. Silica is an example.
Right.
You know, I think,
It was like a
action
page.
levels now like 50.
Yeah, 50
micrograms.
per cubic meter.
But if you Googled, oh man, Silica rules changed a few years ago. I just found this out. Let me grab a quick policy. And you Google one, and it's still the old stuff.
It's at 100.
You're way under where you
Right.
should be. You know, it's just like, excuse me.
Yeah, we invented this thing called Table 1.
And
your
your
policy doesn't mention Table
yeah.
1 anywhere.
So now you're busted for that.
Yeah, that'd be an easy one for
So
them.
policies could overdo or underdo
Oh,
or
very
not be
so.
applicable
Mhm.
if you get one from somebody else.
Right.
And I think that's the main hazards.
I mean, yeah. You saying you're doing stuff you're not doing, or there's stuff you're supposed to be doing that you're not
It's
doing.
not in there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, you can go both directions with it easy.
does OSHA have a regulation that these have to be like signed by like a boss person?
Yeah, they have to have a company executive's approval on them, saying that, yep, we as a company, as Aaron's Chunky Peanut Butter Emporium, we approve this policy. This is our company policy.
Right. All right, cool. So we talked about creating one from an OSHA standard,
Mm-hmm.
rewording it,
Reword it.
taking some stuff out.
It's not
that
great,
maybe
but
not
it
be
will be compliant.
pertinent. Yeah. We talked about Googling or just getting one from a friend, homie hookup.
Right.
Hey, you need a bloodborne pathogen policy?
Here you go, man.
I got you one, man.
Awesome.
Because everybody that talks like that has that bloodborne pathogen policy for
Yeah.
sure in their back pocket. They
Duh.
carry it with them.
Here's mine.
Yeah.
I have it on me.
All right. Well, what are the other ways? Let's talk about purchasing one.
Oh,
So you go to a safety professional,
Yeah. Dude, and I
and
get
you're
it.
like, man, you need health and safety policy. We're health and safety policy emporium
Yeah.
for a low price.
$4
I'm not going to tell you how much it costs, but I'm going to say it differently. Like for 10 payments
Right.
of $4,000.
Holy smokes.
No, they're not that expensive. For 10 payments of $400, we will give you an OSHA compliant health and safety plan program.
Right.
We just need your name and logo.
Right. And that, again, guys, same thing. Like, that's not going to work.
Why not? They're safety professionals.
Well, so you're going to get it if they're good. And I've never ordered one, so I've never seen one that shows up, but I'm assuming it's going to come with a huge disclaimer saying, this program is not complete. You still need to fill out or complete or add or do whatever all these extra steps are. Like, they're going to have that if they're good, if they're covering their bases. So that when you pay that, 10 easy payments of $400, like, you actually have a mountain of work to do to finish their cookie cutter policy.
Yeah, and, there's cookie cutters, there's drafts, there's templates.
Right.
And, if it's a solid base, that's fine. But somebody needs to fine-tune it.
And they're going to tell you that. Well, like I said, if they're good, if they're doing it right, they're going to tell you that.
Because
Otherwise,
there's going to be a spot in there where you have to insert a lot of policies, programs,
Yeah.
require a program like manager.
Mm-hmm.
Like who runs your Silica
In
program.
case of a need for knowledge or ordering fall protection. 'cause
Or-
we're going to pick on fall protection.
Or we need to put a name of a competent person in there.
Like contact,
yeah.
blah, 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 at blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Or here's a list of approved company trainers for hoisting and rigging. You
or
know,
maybe their whole policy will start saying stuff like line foreman. And you're like, well, we don't have a single line foreman. We have area supervisors.
Yeah. The terminology's weird.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, you could do that, right?
You can order.
You're putting a lot of trust that they're giving you a good base. That's
I've
at
never
least
done it.
OSHA
Like,
compliant.
maybe they're better than that, man. Maybe like if you do it, like somebody will contact you and call you and work with you for like a month to answer all that, and then they'll send you something complete.
Well,
Like, I
yeah,
don't know.
they're safety consultants that'll turnkey,
Right?
but that's more money.
It's got.
They're not just going to sell you a template. They're going to do the fine tuning. We've done that for clients.
Yeah.
We've
Well, that's
we've
because we're good safety people.
assisted them with templates, and when they ask, well, that's cool. You gave me something 90% good, but we need turnkey. All right, cool. Well, I need 10 more hours then.
Right. I got to know exactly.
And
what
I
you're
got to
doing.
come
Yeah,
hang
this-
out with you, and we got to go look at this, and I got to go figure it all out, and I need names, and I need numbers, and I need addresses, and we'll take this all the way.
Yeah,
This
we'll
will
do
be
most of the
solid
work.
when we're done with it.
Heck yeah.
Some people take us up on it. Some people don't. Some people just want a template, and they don't ever read it.
And it still says draft when OSHA asks for it.
Yeah.
You know, they got
Yeah.
it from some 1-800 order nonsense RS.
Or from us, but we're like draft. we don't sell policies.
Right.
We will assist you in finding a template,
And we'll get it most of the way there.
but you need to fine tune this.
Yeah, when you get
this
that policy.
document is not OSHA compliant. So, all right. So there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Mhm.
You could purchase them, but I mean, we haven't talked about a foolproof way yet, where you. Oh, I guess we did.
Yeah.
If you hire a legit consultant,
Yeah.
and you pay them enough, they could take it 100% there. But they're coming on site. Like, the people are still involved because the consultant doesn't know you. They still got to sit down with you,
Oh, yeah.
ask all those questions, names, phone numbers.
Yep.
You know,
There's no such thing as just pay the money, get a perfect policy.
no, because
you
it's
have to-
not
there will be
specific
work.
to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's always going to be work to be done on it.
And I caution you on just putting out a policy just because.
Right.
Like, I've got a lot of clients before that I've helped with because they go work in a place that'll have, like, ammonia. And so then they have downloaded an ammonia policy offline that says, we're going to do all this respiratory training, and we're going to do all of this training on ammonia and the hazards on ammonia and working and handling with ammonia and the dangers of ammonia and how to report ammonia and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you guys do all of this. This is a hardcore policy. This is a great policy. Like, you actually found a good one. And they're like, oh, no. We we don't touch anything that actually does with it. We don't even deal with the plumbing that deals with ammonia. But we just work somewhere, and they just said we have to have an ammonia awareness policy. I'm like, this is an ammonia handling policy.
Yeah, we could cut out about half of this.
Yeah. And so, like, they are way over policyed. And we talked about that, of course. When you start saying you're doing a bunch of stuff that you're not doing. But in that policy right there, it had said every single one of their employees who goes into this place is fit tested, medically evaluated, comes on site with a respirator, has tanks checked, like all this hardcore good stuff, but they don't do any of it because they're not required to.
It was just something to scratch off their list.
Yeah.
The client said you need a policy. They went and found one, put their name on it, turned it back. The client didn't read it.
Right.
The contractor didn't read it, but they checked the box and get to work there now.
Right.
But what they don't know is they're opening themselves up to an OSHA citation. How many times have you?
You always ask me, like, how many times I'm over here in my head, like
5 times.
When I think about it, I don't know.
It's kind of, it's not rhetorical in the sense, it's rhetorical in the sense of the amount of times.
Right, I have no idea how many.
Have you ever
Yeah.
been as part of OSHA inspecting someone and the OSHA compliance officer asked to see their policy?
So far, and I don't think I'm missing one every time.
Yeah.
I don't think
time.
I've missed a single one where they've been like, let me see that policy.
Now, sometimes they're cool if they're on a construction site. They realize you're not going to have your policies in your work truck.
I can't remember the amount of time, but I was even just doing they had compliance, so the softer side of OSHA, walking through with a group. We were over in Storm Lake, and they had a industrial hygienist walking through with the OSHA. Like, they were hardcore helping in air quotes everybody, but really they were just scaring the daylights out of everybody. But they even told us you had less than an hour, or is it less than 4 hours? I can't remember the number, But he's like, it's
Well,
in.
that's not in the reg, I don't think.
Yeah, I
The
had to
field,
look it up.
The field inspector's reference manual?
Yeah, you have a certain amount of time when they request documentation to provide documentation. And I was like, holy smokes.
I've been in several of these, and they've all said the same thing in different states even. In Iowa and Nebraska, I've been in them. They just said, give me this by close of business day today.
Right. They're usually pretty accommodating.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That guy
Now,
was-
what's awesome is when that company had one
Right.
fine-tuned, ready to go, doesn't say draft, has an adoption date.
Mm-hmm.
They got an accompanying document by the executive saying this is an approved policy. And then when OSHA asks, oh, you got chemicals over there, let me see your HAZCOM policy, they're like, psh, boom, sucker,
Right.
what else you got for us?
Yep.
This is easy. And it is cool, man.
Yeah.
It's cool. But guess how many times I got to experience that?
I got to do it once.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. I still haven't got to do it yet.
I was on site with my boys that I spend most of my time with, and this was the Storm Lake job. And that HAZCOM was the one specific, and I think they were doing it because the industrial hygienist. She was
Okay.
Like, she's like, right now, we're letting you guys know that we do want to see everybody's policies,
Right.
and HAZCOM and whatever. You guys have your SDS binders and everything, and I was like, well, I actually have all of ours electronically, and she was like, you have to have them immediately available. And like two of my guys were like, actually, AJ emailed them to us. We have them on our phones, and we have our entire inventory that we have here in a binder in our pickup.
For safety data sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? And I was like, and right now I can actually email you our company policy that has this list in it. And she was like, that's
That's
okay.
awesome.
You guys are good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Man.
So I got to have like a huge pat
You
on
gotta
the
be
back.
like, psh,
Yup. It was
like
cool.
mic drop.
Right?
Safety guy mic drop.
It was pretty fun.
What? Yeah, we've seen them ask if they see a forklift policy.
But also, that's not really fair because they have like a safety guy like me that hangs out
Of
with
course,
them.
and they have their own Resident Evil safety
Yeah.
dude.
Right. So it wasn't, they were,
But everybody could be on that level if they hire
Yeah.
an evil safety dude.
they could.
And a system to making a completely adopted, legit, fine-tuned policy, and probably need to reevaluate.
Go over those old ones.
You know, some are required to be done on a certain basis.
Yeah.
You know,
Annual reviews.
you need to look at them and review them, and you need to change them. You need to update
Yeah.
them. There should be we call it dead or living documents.
Right.
Most people have a dead policy.
Yeah.
You know, they got that one from online, or they hired us to do it, and we made
Right.
a really good one. But they have changed so many things. They never even read it, and it's just, you know, they printed it out, it's collecting dust, or
Or maybe they don't even do that part of their job anymore.
you look at the date on the digital file, and it's 5 years old. It's never been modified or opened since
Right.
then. They've never even read it. They just say thank you. But that's not the spirit of the law of requiring to have a policy or a program. It should be something that you're living and updating and you know, it's implemented.
Yeah.
You're actually doing what it says.
Yep.
Because you could have a program on paper, but that doesn't mean you have a program in practice.
Right. Things have changed so much, or the company's changed. 10
Or
years
you never
ago,
got to the level of what that policy said to
Yeah.
begin with.
You
Yeah.
might not be doing any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah. And
For sure.
sadly, I think that's where most people are at.
Honestly, I think, and when we say most, I'm just saying this based on how many people I run into. I think most people don't even have policy. And the few that do probably haven't been keeping it up.
Well, I doubt they've even read it.
Yeah.
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 Because they got their plate full.
Well,
They're
yeah,
they're
running a
a HR
business.
person. They're a quality person. They're a owner. They're a whatever. They don't have time for all that safety stuff. Reading policies, make sure they're doing everything they should be doing. It's a dead document.
Yeah. Well, and hiring that safety person to come in and keep it living and then update the policies and create policies is crazy expensive. And pretty soon it starts becoming difficult. You're like, well, I'm running this business and it's already tight. We're making money. How am I going to create this whole salary position or hourly position to do safety? And, we do. We got to do that whole – we got to do a whole episode on, like, that return of investment on safety.
Yeah, we need to. It's on our
Investing in
list. Return
safety.
on investment on safety
Yeah.
to show
You
people
need that person.
how you actually save money.
Yep.
By spending money.
Well, because then all the time they're like, all right, we need safety. You person, whether you're HR, maybe you're maintenance or, you're whatever, you're also going to be safety now. It's like you had a full-time job doing what you were doing. Now
Yeah.
you got to do your full-time job
And
plus this full-time job.
I don't know if this is offensive anymore in today's world, but safety is always that redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
You know, it's always that like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't ask for this. It's not my experience. It's not my training. They're making me do this
Right?
now.
It's just tossed.
They almost like are mad about it.
Yep.
You know, they didn't ask me if I wanted to do it.
You're just doing it now.
And so, let alone that, obstinance, defiance. Well, fine, you can give me the title, but I ain't doing it.
Right.
You know, I've seen that there.
And maybe they're the other way. Maybe they're like, all right, let's get safety going. They're excited about it. I feel like that enthusiasm is only going to last a little bit, and then it'll just fall off.
Well, and then I've seen where they actually have a desire to get their company compliant with safety, but they just never get it there because they got so much of their core job to do.
Right.
There's never, like, I've seen it so many times where I'm doing my core job 95% of the time, and I'm doing safety 5% of the time.
Right.
And it just never goes anywhere.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So policies is a big deal. They got to be living, breathing, moving. Let's end with policy rollout. So let's pretend
Well, we've done policy roll. Well, we've talked about it before.
you got one. It's legit.
Right.
It's customized. It's adopted.
You got all the OSHA regs.
You're doing it.
You got your work
You're
stuff.
actually doing what you say in the policy you're doing.
Awesome.
It's a living document. You're proud of it. You're happy with your program.
Ooh.
We've been talking about fall protection. It's your fall protection policy, your fall protection program.
At Aaron's Chunky Peanut Butter.
Yeah,
Emporium.
we're big on fall protection.
big on fall protection.
Have you ever fallen in a vat of chunky peanut butter?
Well, no,
It's
thanks
not
to
a
your
good-
policy.
It's not a fun experience. So anyway, it clogs your ears bad.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
Yeah, yeah.
It gets in your hair and your
Yeah.
ears.
Well, if you had any gum in your hair, then it gets the gum out.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, so you're proud of this thing. It's good. It's living. You have it. There it is.
Perfect.
You walk out on the floor. Nobody's doing it
Right.
because you didn't roll it out.
Not at all.
You have this beautiful document,
Right.
but how do you roll it out so the people know what's in that policy?
Now, best answer is you provide training.
Right.
You train the employees on the new rules that apply to them.
How do you do that?
So you can do, in my opinion, you just do a big training class. Everybody has to get together.
You can do a live, in-person,
live,
fall
in-person.
protection training class.
Yep.
Go over your
all
policy.
your company rules.
Okay.
This
What are
is our
some
hardware.
other ways?
There are other
roll out a
not as
policy.
great ways.
Right.
There is email.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you do that?
You can email everybody. Hey, everybody, I got a acknowledgement form in the lobby with the policy right there next to it. All of you need to stop by the lobby at some point, review the new policy, and all the rule changes are highlighted in pink. And then when you're done reviewing that policy, sign the acknowledgement form stating that you understand and will follow all the new rules.
Yeah. I've
know.
been through many of those.
That's a way to do it. It's not
Yeah.
great because nobody's going to read it. They're just going to walk by and
I
sign
thought
it.
you were going in a different direction with email because I've seen companies actually have that in the email
Oh,
in the pre-shift meeting
yeah.
where then the boss of that shift is going through all the emails from the higher ups.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
New policy, guys, guess what? We can no longer do this. Now we have to do it this way. But there's a sign-in
Yeah,
sheet.
they all signed in on that meeting already.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's all adequate.
Yep.
It's like for record-keeping purposes, it's there.
Right.
I can prove you were present when we went over this new policy.
Right. For the document review, all that stuff.
If you had that acknowledgement form, it's even better.
Yeah, that's the one I would prefer that. I mean, of course, I would prefer an actual training class.
Yeah. You know, and in new hire training, we covered that in the previous episode. They're getting a taste of each policy, though.
Yeah. I mean, just a smidge.
Yeah, but they're not getting it all. So, okay, policy development, policy rollout, all important, required by OSHA.
We really went into the content there a little bit.
You need to have a health and safety plan, health and safety policy, health and safety program. It's got to be adopted. It's got to be signed by an executive. It's got to be your official company rules. And, of course, no one will live it, and you can't enforce it unless you've educated people on it. So you got to have a solid rollout.
Gotta.
All right, cool. Well, that's all the time we have today for health and safety plan, health and safety program, health and safety policy.
You guys can't see Aaron juking at me
What
right
we
now. Every
didn't
single one of
talk
those,
about
he gives me, like,
today-
this little juke.
What this podcast was not on was manuals or handbooks.
Nope.
We
Didn't
didn't talk
cover 'em.
about them today.
Nah, didn't.
We didn't. If you thought we were talking about it, we weren't.
We fooled you.
We were talking about policies
Just like a bad policy.
and programs and what was the other one? the 3 P's. Policy, plan.
Plan.
We weren't talking about handbooks and manuals.
We were not.
In Aaron's world of safety definitions and terminology, that's a different thing.
Totally separate.
So maybe we should do
Other
one
place.
on that. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
We touched on them in a little bit in the orientation one.
Yeah. And this one.
All right, guys.
Bit
Well,
smidge.
we hope you got something out of it. And remember, we're here to help you. And until next time, AJ and Aaron are signing off. Stay safe out there.
Bye.
Wait, let's do that evil safety dude one thing. You have been listening to the Evil Safety Dudes. Bye.